back to Gone Gliding. This is Jason, and today's video is going to be about my first unfortunate big crash. This happened on January 26th, 2026. So you're watching it for the first time. I've watched it hundreds of times already. I was checking out the weather on January 25th, the night before my flight. You can see here the times of what the forecast is supposed to be at the surface. So we were looking at 20 plus miles an hour when you're factoring the gusts. The actual wind readings that morning were showing pretty much what the forecast had told us the night before. So the forecast was holding pretty much true and accurate when I got up to the top of the mountain. You can see here in the detailed forecast for what I'm expecting for the next few hours as well that day, showing around the 19 to 20 mile an hour winds with 5 mile an hour gust differential, and it was cold as fudge. So it was about 20 degrees or less, so very cold. The Apple I app was saying gusts up to 7 miles an hour. I got set up, no other hang gliders were there that morning. I got in, got my glider set up, got my hang check done, and the winds were definitely blowing. The windsock was flapping really strong and showing a nice southerly wind. And one thing to see here is how much I'm already fighting the wind in my ground handling. And I feel pretty comfortable with my ground handling, but around this 20 and especially over 20 mile an hour range, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit, and it can push you back, and you really have to make sure that your nose is down or that you're ready to jump on those nose wires to control your glider if you need to. You know, you get a lot of control on the ground with the down tubes, but you can use the base bar as well, whatever works for you. And you see I added in a plug there that just because you can handle something doesn't mean that you should. So, you know, one of the warning signs I really should have looked out for is if I'm having to fight this hard on the ground to keep the glider controlled, that's probably at least a time to just pause for a moment. You know, take some caution, take some time to analyze that. When you're analyzing the windsock, the wind direction, the app that you use to check the weather, when you're kicking the ground to see the dust blowing, when you're looking at windmills or flags or ripples on water or whatever else you're looking for in the signs that you're looking for to see how the air is, you know, you want to just pay attention to what you yourself are doing when you're kiting or you're ground handling, and process that for a minute and think, should I fly right now? If I'm having this much struggle on the ground, should I fly? You also can see that everything right now is still in shadow. Back in the background of this shot right here is looking towards the west. And so the sun was rising this morning about 7:40 a.m. and had not yet come over the top of the mountains, but the sun had risen. So I launch when there's still a little bit of shade there from the mountains, and that will quickly change. And here we go. Gonna start the flight. Today's flight is gonna be 2.1 ground miles, a little over 11 minutes of flight. I get up to 5,360 feet above sea level and 183 feet above ground level. Here you can see what each thing represents on the overlay for, that is my ground speed, ground distance, and then you can see for the altitude which one's AGL and which one is MSL. So hopefully that helps you. Things were going fairly similar to my previous 1+ hour soaring flights that I had before this one. And it started out basically the same. And but it was a little bit risky for me, being a new Hang 2 pilot, launching before any other hang glider was in the air. John Lindbergh wasn't there today. My buddy Mike wasn't there today. So this was just me making all these decisions on my own. Another thing that I want to draw your attention to is in the bottom right of the screen is the little altitude chart. I used to be a paramedic, and I used to analyze heart rhythms. And we would call heart rhythms regularly regular, irregularly regular. We would call them irregularly irregular. There was all kinds of ways to classify rhythms, whether they were regular or irregular, good or bad. And these altitude charts kind of remind me of looking at your EKG or electrocardiogram. There's information that you can extract out of looking at something like an altitude chart. And here you see 3 rising peaks that are about the same. I get to a certain elevation, I drop a little bit, I climb back up, I drop a little bit, I climb back up, and then I drop a lot. And then I climb back up a lot, and then I drop a lot. And I want to draw your attention to that because there was a shift in the wind during this 11 minutes of flight. And you can already see that not too long after I launched, the light from the sun is really starting to brighten up the south side of the point of the mountain. So I launched basically right about the time the sun was about to peek over the top of the mountains that are to the east of me. And of course, what that does, we all know as free flight pilots, that when the sun starts to hit the ground, it warms up the ground. It starts to kick up thermals, and it does cause a change in the wind. And that's why, that is a piece of why I think I got into the accident that I got into today, was the wind change. And so it's something that I'm still, of course, learning how to pay attention to. You know, what about the weather is important for us to pay attention to as pilots? Obviously, we have to learn a lot about clouds, how clouds are formed, and how that can lead us to finding thermals. You learn about things like cloud streets, cumulus clouds. You know, these are things you guys have probably heard about, whether you're an expert in them or not. As a free flight pilot, you know that is something we look for. We look for actually unstable weather, because unstable weather is what's going to give us things like cumulus clouds. It's what's going to kick up more thermals, and we have to learn how to fly safely in unstable weather. But I do think that it's important to try to pay attention to these things, and hopefully you guys watching my video today, as well as my analysis of it, and whatever everybody else's analysis is in the comments for what they think happened, these are good things to pay attention to. And I hope that you can learn from my mistakes in this video today, this crash that happened. So hopefully that you don't make the same mistakes. I love when other pilots share their crashes so that we can learn from them. I watch a lot of those. But crashing is an interesting thing for sure. In fact, I mean, this is my own personal opinion. Maybe you guys share this, maybe you don't. But I'm of the opinion that crashes happen in a really weird way. Such a weird way that they're really very personal to the pilot who experienced a certain crash, right? Their crash. They own that crash. It's theirs. And you know, you process the situation more when you're the one who crashed. Example being that you guys might watch this video 100 times. I've still watched it at least 100 times more than you. Because this is my crash, and I'm trying to understand, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And so I learn from that, right? And I know that other people are certainly going to analyze and learn from this crash, and that's a great thing. That is exactly what I want to happen. But no one's ever going to do that as much as I will on my own crash. And I will never analyze someone else's crash as much as I will analyze my own crash. And a pilot who experiences a specific crash, especially if you capture it on video, you're going to analyze it, you're going to overanalyze it, you're going to learn so much about it that it's going to become so deeply ingrained in your brain. You're gonna know exactly what to do if you ever find yourself in a certain situation again. You're either going to escape faster or you're gonna do something different, right? Hypothetically, if you could find yourself in the exact same scenario, you would never end up with the same outcome because you would change something, guaranteed, right? So, you know, and that's a good thing, because if you ever find yourself at least in a very similar situation, you know exactly what to do to hopefully have a better outcome. There's no guarantee, of course, but hopefully you have a better outcome. In fact, you'd probably respond so quickly you wouldn't even blink. It would be very natural for you. So I hope that that's how this one is for me if I ever find myself in a similar situation. Here we are. I'm getting close to being about 3.5, 4 minutes away from the actual crash. And you know, one of the things that I wish I had not done on this flight is zipped myself up in my harness. That's one of the things I wish I could take back. There's a lot of things I wish I could take back about this flight today. But zipping myself up in my harness is absolutely, most definitely one of them. You see right here, I'm in the bottom of that first big lull, getting down into about the 80 feet above ground level range, which is still a good height above the ground for me. If I wanted to go do a top landing, that's a pretty good distance to start from. I like to be more like 100 feet, but I can do a top landing comfortably from 80 feet of where I'm at here at this moment. But luckily, I start to catch a little bit more lift as I make my way back over to the east side here of south side of the point of the mountain. And so I'm climbing, and you'll see, I don't know it, of course, in the moment here of flying, but that's going to be the last big lift I get, and it's going to be downhill from there. Like I was saying a little bit earlier about the sun rising and heating up the ground, this is a winter flight. It's cold, it's 20 degrees or less Fahrenheit. And as the ground gets heated up, we've got a southerly wind. So there's gonna be, you know, a rush of warmer air headed my way in this southerly wind that's blowing towards me. And I think that is part of what contributed to a little bit of a lull where I started losing some elevation. And after that lull started to happen, the wind definitely felt more funky, a little bit more wonky, more textured air. It almost felt sort of like turbulence, not exactly like turbulence, sort of felt like rotor, not exactly. It was just varied in what I was experiencing and how it hit me in the hang glider. That could have been like small little micro gusts stacked up against each other. You know, being new, I'm not fully sure exactly how to describe what I felt and what I experienced that morning. But I can tell you that it was smooth for the first 8 to 10 minutes, and then it definitely started to change. So that is something to pay attention to. If you're a new pilot like I am, and you're flying and you start to notice that something feels weird, go land. Just go land. You can always relaunch. There's no problem with that. And that's one of the things I should have done. Anyway, you can see right here, my data overlay is a little bit off from the crash. The altitude you see is dropping here rapidly while I'm actually still up in the air. So apologies for that. Hopefully I'll get that better next time. But here we go. Watch this crash and I will rejoin you guys in just a little bit with some more analysis.
Okay?
Yeah. God.
Well, you're up
I'm
and walking.
fine. I'm fine. Just a bad day now.
Yeah, man, shit happens.
Yeah. I'm alive.
Exactly.
Thanks for checking on me.
Yeah, man, what do you need?
$7,000. Shit. Yeah, I broke it down tube.
Yeah.
I've got new ones on the way. Be here in about a week. Grr. Hopefully my down tubes took all of it.
Yeah.
And if they did, I'm good to go. Well, that sucks.
Walking around and kind of somewhat laughing about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Seriously.
I appreciate it. Things were so fucking smooth.
It looked like it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it just was losing elevation, and then got these gusts, and it just lifted that wing. I was like, oh fuck. Yeah. Damn.
All right, so check out this windsock on the west side of Point of the Mountain here. It's indicating mostly a southerly wind. So I wanted to point that out so you have something to look at for reference. And then I actually launched this morning in a little bit of a shadow. The sun was not yet over the mountains, but it had risen. And at this point, the sun had been up for a few minutes. And so the wind was really kind of starting to change. I was getting more of that southeast type gusts. And I think just the ground warming up in the valley was bringing some kind of funky air. There was a little bit of a lull. I had lost some of my altitude that I'd had a few minutes earlier. And so it was slower winds, but gustier winds. So that was an interesting change and something for me to pay attention to. And then as we continue on, the thing that I want you to see the most is my left wing. My left wing kicks up and my feet head off to my right here. And I think I had a gust coming from the southeast. It picked up my left wing and kicked my hips and feet towards the right. You can see my body, my head, my elbows are towards the left. So it looks like I'm in a cross-controlling motion, and technically I am, and that's part of the problem. But the gust pushed me into this position. I didn't have enough elevation or altitude to correct that really very much at all. And that's where I got stuck, and my feet were zipped up completely in the harness. I had fully zipped up my harness. So I couldn't get my landing gear out to help me with any extra control. So we'll continue on. You'll see the result is I get whipped around real quick. I can't get my feet and hips back over. I slam down. You look right here, you see that the crossbar and the leading edge on the right side of the glider are the first things to hit the ground. And they sort of bounce, and then instantaneously I'm down, my head hits the ground, the down tubes snap. So this is just a few angles, watching it up a little bit closer. And just to give a little bit more perspective about the situation that I found myself in. And of course, I've watched this 1,000 times thinking, what would I do next time? What should I have done this time? What could I have done? What would have been better? There's 1,000 things that I have thought of, but this was my crash. All right, so in this section, what I want to do is just show you that leading up to the gust and my cross controlling that led to the crash, I had a few very similar opportunities to also crash. But instead of getting into the cross controlling position, I make the proper input from my head to my arms, to my hips, to my feet. And by doing so, I get the glider positioned correctly. So as we watch this, there's the left wing coming up and I get my body fully to the left. And then again, left wing starts to come up and I get my entire body to the left. This corrects the glider and gets it back on track until that cross controlling motion, turning me 180, lowering my elevation, sending me to the ground. All right, well, now that we've seen my crash multiple times from multiple different views, close up, far back, everything else, I just want to talk a little bit about my overall thoughts, what I think I should have changed, what I could have changed, what I should have changed, like what I should have done to prevent this accident overall, where I should have backed out of things. So to make sure that this never happens again. So these are some things I texted to my instructor. He asked me, what were my thoughts about what I think I should have done differently. And so first of all, I would have launched after the sun had risen over the mountains and allowed the valley air change to smooth out. So that was a big one. I just feel like being the first person up there and launching probably wasn't the smartest thing for a new Hang 2 pilot. It is helpful to look at the other hang glider pilots or paraglider pilots that have launched to see if they're getting lift, to see if the air is smooth, maybe have a conversation with them and see, based on their experience, what kind of feedback they would give. So that is definitely one of the things I would hold off on. Most of my other launches to this point have been when the sun has already hit the valley, warmed up the ground, and sent that warmer air towards the point of the mountain. Number 2, I should have paid better attention to the wind while ground handling. Obviously, we kind of already reviewed the footage of how hard I had to fight in the ground handling. I realized it was just above my capability, and I should have just backed up and tied my glider back up before launching. Doesn't mean I didn't have to launch or that I needed to break down and go home, but I definitely should have waited this out a little bit longer and just thought through it a little bit more. Number 3, I should have checked my ego at the door. I definitely have a competitive spirit, and based on how my last 2 1+ hour flights went, and hopefully you guys have watched those videos, they went really well. It was super awesome, and I was still on that high, and I felt like I've been doing so good, I've got this. Like, I shouldn't have had that mindset, and that's the kind of mindset that leads you to a crash and costs you $1,000 in repairs, or you break a bone, or worse. So I was a little bit cocky, and I need to cool down a little bit and remember that I'm a brand new Hang 2 pilot and should stay within my skill set. Number 4, I definitely would not have zipped my feet up in the harness. It definitely takes me way too long to zip up and zip out while I'm wearing gloves. Now, I can assure you guys I have practiced in my harness a lot at home, where I'm just hanging on a pull-up bar, and I can do the zippers really quick when I don't have gloves on. But when my dexterity is taken away by those heavy gloves, I'm not really ready for it. I've thought of ways to modify those zipper pulls, but I haven't done that yet. And so that was a big mistake. And I thought every other pilot was zipping up in their harness, and I've learned since then that even John Lindbergh isn't zipping up on all his flights. My buddy Mike hasn't even zipped up in his harness, so maybe I was just getting a little bit ahead of myself there, but that was definitely a big issue for me. Number 5, I should have landed when I noticed the air starting to change the way that it was. My instructor's feedback was that was a very important one. And the truth is that while I was flying, I did want to go land, but I was thinking about, I need to get into some calm air so I can unzip my harness and get my landing gear out. So that's what was going through my head, is I want to get my landing gear out so I can go land because I don't like this wind. But because I was in funky wind and having to concentrate on flying, what I should have really done is tried to focus on pulling in my speed bar a lot, dropping altitude, and getting down to the lower LZ. And I know that I can land in my harness. It's not preferred. I don't want to drag my harness all over the ground or through the mud or whatever. But I know that I can land that way, and safety first. And so that was something I could have done. I could have bailed out there, and I should have. Number 6, I could have or should have bailed to the lower LZ when the wind was changing. So that was all kind of included together. When I noticed the air was changing, I should have bailed. And if I couldn't bail with a safe top landing, then I should have gone down to that lower LZ. And then number 7, I had told my instructor that I sort of want to avoid that west end of the point of the mountain where it bumps out a bit, because I feel like the air is always different over there. And that is where my very first little crash was, which I was able to get up and still fly again after that one. And then this crash, obviously was not able to fly again. And both of my crashes at Point of the Mountain have happened in that same location where things just felt weird. So I kind of want to try to avoid it going forward for my next few flights until I get, more comfortable with some of these other things. Number 8, I really have to pay attention to make sure I avoid any cross control in my positioning. Cross controlling is a very interesting thing for a brand new pilot, because you're not going to know necessarily when you're cross controlling. You have to actively think about it. And I do feel that when I'm flying long enough, when enough time has passed and I've had enough flights and hours of flights and so on and so forth, I'm going to be able to feel that I'm in a cross controlling position and make those corrections. But it's also about learning how to fly in this prone position in a pod harness versus that, that dangle angle that you're in when you're flying in an apron harness, where your hips and your feet and your head are all really vertical instead of horizontal. And so getting used to ensuring that my head and my feet are moving at the same time, either left or right, because my hips are obviously going to follow, but making sure that I'm not cross-controlling. That's a very big one. And then lastly, a few more thoughts here, and I want to get your guys' opinion as well. But number 9, I maybe could have pushed out and up, on the base bar as I was headed towards the ground. I was nervous about heading downwind because behind Point of the Mountain here, or on the north side of the Point of the Mountain, there's a mine. It's an active working mine. There's trucks down there, there's dust down there, there's power lines down there, and there's also the weather station and all the radio equipment that's there on top of Southside Point of the Mountain. And I haven't flown downwind yet, and so I know that could make me go a lot faster, and I was worried that if I didn't just get down to the ground, that I could be lost out towards that mine. And with my experience level, that may have been what happened to me. Of course, a more experienced pilot would have been able to get out of the situation a lot easier and not had to worry about the little few seconds of flying downwind. But I was worried about that. So I want to know, what do you guys think? When I was getting there a little wonky, right as I got it blown into that cross controlling position, I was only 20 to 30 feet above ground level. So I didn't have a lot of altitude. And then once that turn started being initiated, I was rapidly descending. I only had 5 seconds to make the right decision. So what would you guys have done? Would you have pushed out your base bar to try to gain some elevation, when you're headed towards the ground like that? Or what would you have done? Definitely want to hear your guys' feedback. So yeah, that's my overall analysis. And now I'll chat with you a little bit about how expensive this crash was.
All right, so assessing the damage and the costs of this crash. This is also a slight prelude to another video I'm going to be doing in the next month or so for a full sail-off inspection. But I want to show you guys the resulting damage of this crash.
All right, so here is my base bar with these brackets. I mean, there's some scratches. There's that little dent thing there. There's a slight warpedness to where it connects. None of this came out or anything, just scratched. And I do still have the pins.
This here is my former down tube on my right side there. The lucky thing is it did exactly what it's designed to do. So this is part of my down tube that snapped. And these brackets here These go into the down tube, and you can see where the wire connects, that little silver metal piece there. This one that's right on top of my thumb is bent. So that's another problem. I checked all my battens on the batten chart, and this one, number 2, only on one side of the glider was bad, but I was able to fix that. So no cost on this one, thankfully.
Here we go, boys and girls. This is how I attach my round base bar to my Lightstream down tubes through the bracket and everything, is these types of pins. This one has a very, very slight warp. I don't even know if you can see it. This one here. All right, well, I may have just found another issue. So the pin that was slightly warped, this is the pin that was just slightly warped, and it goes in fine. So you have to push this little thing to make those little balls retract. So I have to push that pin, it goes through, and then it doesn't come out. So that's holding, that's nice and good. However, we come to this side, and you can see that in there's these little metal rings. You see that one right there? So if I take my pin and I push it in, all good, until a little bit of force comes out, and it just pulled that ring out from the bracket.
I also broke my Vario mount, so had to buy a new one. That sucks.